Darren's newly opened restaurant was in the development zone of Aurous Hill City. The zone was far from the city center, a wide-open area with a lot of land and not many people. Charlie was a little puzzled why Darren would choose to open a restaurant way out here. However, he'd heard from Claire that several large manufacturing companies had recently set up shop in the development zone, so Darren was actually pretty smart to open his restaurant here now. Darren's place, the Moonlight Bistro, sat on the edge of a wide new street. It looked pretty big with 2 full stories, and the name had a nice, artistic ring to it. When Charlie pulled up to the restaurant, a line of cars was already parked out front. A few guys were standing around a gold luxury car. Charlie recognized them. They were all classmates from college, but he wasn't really friends with any of them. He definitely remembered the guy leading the group. His name was Gavin Sawyer, who had been one of the well-known rich kids in their class back in the day. He'd always had a thing for Claire, but she never gave him the time of day. Right then, Gavin was leaning against his gold car, soaking in the compliments from his classmates. "Gavin, man, you're really a winner! Driving a car this expensive right after graduating? That looks like the 540, right? The top of the 5 Series? Gavin laughed and said, "Oh, a 540. It's nothing much, just around 700,000 or 800,000, that's all." "A 540? That's the most expensive imported model in the 5 Series. Gavin, your car must have some serious power, right?" Gavin smiled and said, "Yeah, it's all right. The acceleration is pretty strong. You generally don't run into anyone on the street who can keep up." "That's awesome! If only I could have this car. My girlfriend keeps nagging me that I can't afford a car, and it's so annoying." Just then, someone with sharp eyes saw another car from the same brand arriving and said in surprise, "Oh, is that one of our classmates too? Isn't that Charlie, the good-for-nothing freeloader? Looks like Claire's in the passenger seat. That freeloader is driving a luxury car too. It's gotta be Claire's car, right?" Gavin also saw Charlie in the car and said with a sour look on his face, "What a lucky break for him." Just then someone asked, "Hey, what model is that he's driving?" At that moment, Charlie pulled the car up and then backed into a parking spot. Gavin glanced at the 520 on the trunk emblem and suddenly smirked with contempt. A 520! The absolute base model of the 5 Series. He's just fronting, trying to look like he has money. The guy next to him quickly nodded and said, "Gavin, you have the top-of-the-line 5 Series, and he has the cheapest one. Yours is way better, right?" Gavin snorted coldly. "I could buy 2 of his cars." "You're the man, Gavin!" Just then, Charlie turned off the car and Claire and Elsa got out first. A few of the guys immediately straightened up and swarmed them. "Well, look who's here! The 2 prettiest girls from our class, together!" Claire and Elsa greeted everyone politely. Gavin looked at Claire, who was even more beautiful now, and felt a bitter surge of resentment. Why? In college, he'd chased after Claire like crazy, but she wouldn't give him the time of day. Now she was married to this live-in freeloader. God must be blind. Thinking about it just made him mad, and he sneered, "Well, Charlie, looks like you've got it made living at Claire's house. Even got yourself a nice car. Did Claire buy it for you? You really found the shortcut in life. You're an inspiration to us all." Claire's expression soured when she heard that. Elsa, standing next to her, immediately jumped in. "Gavin, you've got it all wrong. Claire didn't buy this car. Charlie bought it himself." "Oh," Gavin curled his lip. "Awesome. You're rolling in a 5 Series." Then he deliberately tried to get a rise out of Charlie. "Hey, Charlie, the roads out here in the development zone are empty, and that main avenue is wide and straight. What do you say we race? See who's faster?" Charlie frowned, feeling annoyed at Gavin's attitude. Why is this guy always trying to start something with me? We're not even friends. Besides, who is he trying to race? My car is a 760, the most expensive and fastest model they make. Racing him would be like bullying a kid. Gavin thought Charlie was scared and immediately sneered. What's the matter, Charlie? Still the same as you were in college. What are you afraid of? Worried about the cost of gasoline? It's not a big deal. I'll even fill up your tank for you. Elsa protested, clearly annoyed. Hey, Gavin, what's your problem? Your car is a 540 and Charlie's is a 520. There's a huge difference in power. You call that a fair race? Gavin just shrugged. A race is all about the driver's skill. A good car doesn't guarantee a win. It also comes down to technique and courage. I don't know if Charlie here has the guts to compete. If not, then just forget it. It's not like he's ever been one to step up. We all know that. Charlie didn't get angry. He just laughed and said, Gavin, a race is fine, but we can't just do it for bragging rights, can we? We should put something on the line, otherwise it's boring. Okay, Gavin had been worried Charlie wouldn't take the bait. When he heard Charlie suggest a bet himself, he was thrilled, thinking Charlie was walking right into his trap. He blurted out, Fine, how about this? Whoever loses gets on their knees and admits defeat to the winner. What do you think? Charlie shook his head. We're all adults here. Let's not be so childish. At that moment, Darren walked out in a suit, holding a big box of fireworks. When he saw Charlie, he rushed over excitedly. Hey, Charlie, you made it! Charlie nodded and smiled back. Congrats on the grand opening, Darren. Darren smiled and said, Thanks, man. Gavin said coldly, Charlie, don't change the subject. Tell me, what do you think the bet should be? Darren asked curiously, What's going on? What are you guys doing? Charlie just smiled slightly, looked at the big box of fireworks in Darren's arms and asked him, Darren, how big of a show do those fireworks put on? It's a huge display, Darren smiled. These weren't cheap. It'll leave the whole ground covered in red. Cost me over $600. Charlie nodded and then turned to Gavin. All right, let's race. And whoever loses has to set this box of fireworks off inside their car. What do you think? When Gavin heard this, he could barely contain his excitement. His car was a 540, and Charlie's was a 520. There was no way Charlie could win, even if he pushed his car to the limit. And yet, here he was, making a bet this huge. Setting off a large fireworks display inside the car would absolutely destroy it. Since Charlie was practically asking for it, this was the perfect chance to completely humiliate him. So, Gavin nodded without a moment's hesitation and shouted, Everyone's a witness. Charlie and I are going to see whose car is fastest. If I lose, I'll set these fireworks off in my own car and light them. Then he added, And if anyone backs out and goes back on their word, their whole family will have to live with the shame. A crowd of 20 or 30 people gathered around the entrance, eager to see the show. Everyone thought Charlie was an idiot. A 520 daring to challenge a 540? This was all a straight shot. On a road like this, speed had very little to do with skill, and everything to do with the car's performance. It looked like Charlie's brand new 520 was about to be declared a total loss. Claire kept trying to talk Charlie out of it. Charlie, don't let him get to you. He's doing this on purpose. Don't race him. Charlie just smiled. Don't worry, honey. I'm not going to lose. Gavin laughed loudly. Oh, Charlie, I'll give you one thing. You've got guts. In that case, let's cut the and just race. Okay. Charlie nodded and asked him, So, what are the rules? Gavin pointed to the intersection at the end of the road. We start at the same time. We race to that intersection, turn around, and the first one back here wins. What do you say? Charlie smiled and said, No problem. All right, Gavin said, buzzing with excitement. Everyone's a witness. Let's start the race right now. With that, he hopped into his 540 and pulled out onto the road. Ignoring Claire's protests, Charlie drove his car up next to Gavin's. their front bumpers perfectly aligned. Just then, one of the guys grinned. "Ha ha ha, I'll do the countdown for you." "Okay," Gavin smirked. "Start whenever you're ready." Charlie nodded and switched his 760 into sport mode. The 760 has a 6.6-liter engine with 585 horsepower. Gavin's 540, on the other hand, has a 3-liter engine with 340 horsepower. The 760's engine was more than twice the size, with an extra 245 horsepower. It was a night and day difference. But Gavin had no idea that Charlie's 520 was actually a top-of-the-line 760. He thought he had this in the bag. "Get ready! 3, 2, 1, go!" The second he said go, Gavin slammed his foot on the gas. He knew Charlie was going to lose, but he wanted to make it as humiliating as possible. So he tried to get an even bigger lead. But what he didn't expect was the black shadow that shot past him on his right, instantly leaving him in the dust. It was Charlie's 520. Gavin couldn't believe his eyes. How was that possible? No way!
To know more, listen to the audio series Heir in Hiding, only on the Pocket FM app.